Hello, I am Faye. The story I am sharing with everyone today is this. After the scumbag husband passed the imperial exam and earned official honors, he actually wanted to bring his pregnant white moonlight into the household as an equal wife. Faced with this kind of cliché-fed scumbag behavior, our heroine Shen Qingtang didn't choose to swallow the humiliation, nor did she get into any inner house scheming or female rivalry. Instead, she fired back with an incredibly beautiful combo, not only getting out unscathed, but also delivering the scumbag an ultimate gift he would never be able to shake off for the rest of his life. Let's jump right into today's main plot. Something has been very off with my husband Jo Suyan lately. Usually, when judging cases in court, he speaks fluently and at length. But these past few days, when talking to me, his eyes always dart away and his words come out hesitant. He dragged it out like this for several days. In the end, I couldn't stand watching anymore, so I secretly sent someone to whisper in his ear, and only then did he seem to make up his mind. After dinner that evening, he lingered and refused to leave. A tang, his voice was tight, and his fingers unconsciously kept rubbing the corner of his clothes. "I have something I want to discuss with you." "What is it?" I set down my teacup, and the crisp clink of porcelain startling him so much that his shoulders trembled. It is, I want to take an equal wife." The last few words came out fast and urgent, as if a ghost were chasing him from behind. If I hadn't already known the inside story, I probably really wouldn't have caught what he was saying. "What did you say? Say it again." My voice was unnaturally calm. Seeing me like this, he instead gave in to despair, his tone steadying a little, though he still didn't dare look me in the eyes. I said, "I want to take a secondary wife. That person is the woman you saw before when you came to the yamen." I looked at him coldly. "Jo Suyan, setting aside the feelings you and I have had these past few years, just speaking of the elders, do you think your parents would agree? Would the men of my Shen family agree?" These words clearly stirred up his memories, and he froze for a moment. Jo Suyan and I had originally been childhood sweethearts. He was a refined poor scholar, and I was a fierce daughter of a military family. The year I came of age, he passed the imperial examination as a jinshi. And in red robes he married me in glorious style. It has only been 2 years until now. I still remember our wedding day, when my eldest brother and second brother, their eyes red, warned him in front of everyone. "Jo Suyan, if you dare let my little sister suffer even the slightest grievance, we'll break your bones, then bring her back to the Duke's manor in full honor, so that for all eternity, you will never see her again." At that time he held my hand tightly, his eyes under the candlelight full of deep affection. "A tang in this life, Suyan will never fail you." The words still ring in my ears, but his heart has already changed. But he quickly came back to his senses and anxiously tried to explain. "She has a gentle temperament, and she is excellent at cooking and embroidery. Just enough to compliment you. And she already promised me that she would never fight you over anything. It would only mean one more person in the household. Your authority and status as the lady of the house would not be shaken in the slightest. I really only did this because she is carrying." Smack. Before he could finish speaking, I had already shot to my feet and raised my hand, putting all my strength into a loud slap across his face. A bright red handprint instantly appeared on his fair face, and the whole man was stunned silly from the blow. "So you can enjoy the blessing of having both, is that it? Is the Jo resident short a cook, or lacking an embroiderer, that a dignified court official like you has to personally take her into the household to serve you? If that is the case, then why did you marry me in the first place?" Hearing those absurd words with my own ears, I was still beside myself with rage. I raised my hand and fiercely slapped him 2 more times, so hard that my palm went numb. Those 2 slaps left him dizzy and disoriented. But instead they made me even clearer-headed. I grabbed the purple sandalwood ruler from the desk and viciously lashed it across his back. I come from a military family, so of course I know exactly how to hit him, so he'll remember it for a long time and feel the pain in his bones, while leaving no visible wounds for others to nitpick over. For this day, I had endured for a long time already. When I was tired from beating him, I threw down the ruler, mussed up my hair, and with my face streaked with tears, stumbled into my mother-in-law's courtyard. I didn't say a thing, just threw myself onto Mother. in-law's lap and burst into loud sobs, crying until my whole body shook, and I was gasping for breath. Father-in-law was alarmed too. Seeing this, he was both heartbroken and furious, and immediately sent someone to fetch Jo Suyen. Perhaps that layer of window paper had already been poked through, because when he came to the main hall, he was instead much more calm, his words full of true and sincere feeling. He said that what he had with that Jiang Ye was a passion they couldn't help, and then swore up and down that how he felt about me was just as it had always been, unchanged in the slightest. But no matter how my parents-in-law tried to persuade me, no matter how they scolded him, I only kept my head lowered and let my tears fall like a broken string of beads. I sat there in mother-in-law's courtyard all night, dried out and numb. He also knelt all night on the icy bluestone slabs in the courtyard. Whenever he tried to bring up the words, "pregnant," I would immediately raise my crying louder and drown out every word he said. As dawn was about to break, my body went limp, and I very convincingly fainted. The Zhou residence instantly fell into chaos. Mother-in-law's startled cries, father-in-law's scolding, the disorderly footsteps of maids and servant women all tangled together. Amid this chaos, I kept my eyes closed, my heart cold as iron. When I slowly came to, Jo Suyen could hardly wait to crowd up to the bedside and say, "Ching Tang, you've hit, and you've made a scene. You should be over your anger by now, right?" Ignoring the murderous look in my eyes, he went on with his moral blackmail. "I originally wanted to take it slow and give you some time to accept it. But she is pregnant really. Can't wait any longer." I let out a cold laugh. "Is this your idea alone or your whole family's?" His gaze shifted evasively. "I've already discussed it with my parents. Taking her as an equal wife is indeed improper, but we're willing to let her enter the household first as a concubine to keep the child." At a glance from me, my personal maid Kuyun put on a cold face and escorted him out. I was so furious I raised my hand and knocked over the cup beside me. If I hadn't noticed something early and planted spies, I am afraid I really would have been driven to death by that hypocritical face of his. Thinking back to that day last month, I had just come out of my mother-in-law's courtyard when Kuyun came up to me with a grave expression, grabbed me without a word, and hurried me back to my courtyard, babbling incoherently. "Miss, the master, he got someone pregnant." "What do you mean got someone pregnant or not? Slow down and explain." I frowned, and my heart suddenly tightened for no reason. "That Zhang Ya, the person we sent to keep watch, came back with word that she is with child. The doctor said it has already been 2 months. The news hit like a thunderclap. I staggered a step and stood there frozen. After coming back to my senses, I walked blankly to the table and wanted to pour a cup of water to calm myself, but the scalding tea overflowed from the cup onto the back of my hand, and I didn't feel it at all. "Miss, it is overflowing," Kyun cried out as she snatched the teapot away, then looked at the back of my hand, scalded red in a patch, her eyes reddening with panic as she hurried to get the burn ointment. Only when the icy ointment touched my skin did that sharp stinging pain make my muddled mind clear up a little. For a moment I couldn't tell whether the burning pain in my hand was worse or the twisting pain in my chest was harder to bear. I had thought I was already prepared for Jo Suyen to fall out of love, but hearing the news that that woman was pregnant still made the defenses I'd built in my heart collapse in an instant. If before this I still had the slightest delusion that he might change his heart and come back to me, then at this moment it had all turned to ashes. That night, Jo Suyen came home early for once, saying it nicely as wanting to keep me company. Ever since we got married, he was busy with official duties for the first half year and the latter half year. He was probably busy keeping somebody else company. At dinner, he looked uneasy, several times wanting to speak, but in the end forcibly swallowed the words back down every time. His whole mind was occupied with planning around that woman's affairs. He didn't even notice the glaring red swelling on the back of my hand. Since he wouldn't speak, naturally I wasn't about to go out of my way to hand him an opening, and so the meal was tasteless for both of us. We once both thought our temperaments were still too immature, and with him being busy with official duties, we agreed to not have a child for the first 2 years. Thinking about it now, how utterly ironic. It all started some time ago, when on a whim I carried a food box to the government office to see him. From afar, I saw a woman in plain clothes tugging and pulling at him at the yamen gate. I quickly stepped forward to help him out. Up close, this woman really was gentle and soft, looking, with a timidness between her brows and eyes that made you pity her at first sight. Though she was plainly dressed, her fresh beauty was hard to hide. When Jo Soo-yeon saw me, it was like he'd been granted a pardon, and he let out a long breath. "Atang, you came at just the right time, this Miss Jang. Sai, her father is involved in a case, and she came to beg for leniency, but that is against the law, and I am really in a tough spot." At the time, I didn't think much of it, and even softly comforted that girl a few times. But from then on, Jo Soo-yeon came home later and later each day. Even when he did come back, he was often absent-minded. At first, he only brought it up now and then at the dinner table. Today, while judging a case, I ran into that Miss Jang again. There has already been a turn for the better in her father's matter. When she heard it, she actually knelt outside the yamen and kowtowed in thanks. She is truly a good woman who knows gratitude and repays kindness. I was picking up food with my chopsticks and answered casually, "Knowing how to be grateful is a good thing." Later, he started talking more and more. "Atang, you didn't see it. Just to make a living, that Miss Jang actually made embroidery pieces to sell. Her craftsmanship is exquisite, no worse than the brocade workshops in the capital. Such a delicate woman, yet so tough and resilient, it is truly admirable." I put down my chopsticks and gave him a long look. It really isn't easy. Later still, before I knew it, his words had started carrying disdainful comparisons. That night, because I'd gone horseback riding out in the suburbs during the day, I accidentally scraped and tore my sleeve. When he saw it, his brows knit slightly, and he sighed. "You are always this careless and rash, not ladylike in the slightest. If only you could have even half of Miss Jang's calm gentleness, I'd be at ease." I was instantly displeased, lifted my head, and stared straight at him. "Jo Soo-yeon, what do you mean by that? I, Shen Qingtang, have always had this bright and bold temperament since I was little. Could it be that you only found that out today?" He seemed to be stung by my gaze and hurriedly looked away, his tone softening. I didn't mean it like that. I just hoped you could be a bit more steady." It was from that moment on that I clearly realized that my husband, whose heart had once been full of me, had now given away more than half of it, and it had flown into another woman's tender embrace. And from then on, I secretly sent people to keep an eye on Jo Soo-yeon every time news came back of their private trysts. It felt like my heart was being pricked by a needle once more until it was completely numb. Since they're heartless, then they can't blame me for being ruthless. I told Kyun to pack up the valuables, while Kyu went to make some other preparations. From the moment I stepped out of the gates of the Jo residence, the carefully arranged play I had set in motion began. 2 young servants guarded my carriage, one on the left and one on the right. One of them held a bronze gong, beating it as he shouted, his voice loud and every word clear. "Everyone, come take a look. Lord Jo Soo-yeon, Lord Jo bends the law for personal gain and actually hid the daughter of a criminal outside." My young madam was virtuous and decent, and couldn't bear the humiliation. She begged bitterly all night in her mother-in-law's courtyard, and in the end left heartbroken. These few lines were shouted over and over, dressed up in different ways, all the way from the Jo residence to the gates of the Duke Shen's manor. In less than half a day, Jo Soo-yeon's romantic scandal had already spread all over the capital and become the biggest joke in every household after tea and meals. When my father came back from court and heard of this, he was so furious his beard stuck straight up. Right there on the spot, he was about to yank the treasured sword off the wall and go settle accounts with Jo Soo-yeon and ask our in-law, while he was at it, how he'd raised such an ungrateful son. Only after my brothers and I talked him down every which way did we manage to stop him. My original plan was to let this public talk ferment in the capital for a few days, then, once the Jo family's name was dragged through the mud, calmly send over the divorce papers. Who would have thought that that very afternoon, Jo Soo-yeon would actually come to my door himself? He was probably mad out of his mind, his clothes a little disheveled, standing in front of the Duke's manor, and ignoring the servants trying to stop him, loudly berating me as crude and rude, pathologically jealous. bringing disgrace on the family and Baron, and declaring that he was going to cast me off. No one in the manor paid a bit of attention to his crazy ranting. Once he got tired of yelling, the gates of the Duke's manor suddenly flew open, and my eldest brother, second brother, and several burly house servants rushed out, their fists coming down on him all at once like a rainstorm. In the end, it was my second sister-in-law who came out carrying a broom and smacked him so hard right in the face that he staggered, then swept him out onto the long street in utter disgrace. Toward evening, my father-in-law and mother-in-law hurried over, their faces extremely awkward. My father-in-law repeatedly promised that he had already used family discipline to punish Josuian, and swore again and again that there was absolutely no chance of letting Zhang Ye become an equal wife. Seeing my parents' expressions ease a little, my mother-in-law cautiously opened her mouth. Ting tang, 1,000 faults, 10,000 faults. They're all Anner's fault. It is just that Zhang Ye is carrying Zhou family blood in her belly after all. So your father-in-law and I were discussing it, and thought, why not let her enter the household as a nameless maid, concubine? Once the child is born, won't she still be yours, the mistress of the house, to handle and deal with however you like? I picked up my teacup and lightly brushed aside the foam, not even raising my eyelids. Mother-in-law, I appreciate your kind intentions. It is just that I have no interest in raising someone else's child. Today, a Zhang Yue has shown up. Who knows whether tomorrow Lord Zhou might run into some Li Yue or Wang Yue too. Seeing how resolute my attitude was, my father immediately darkened his face, and very unceremoniously saw them out. So, how was it, sister-in-law? Did I do all right just now? After the outsiders left, I looked at my sister-in-law proudly. Mother gathered me into her arms and said softly, Tanger, don't be afraid. As long as you are living comfortably, no matter what decision you make, your father and mother will back you up. Seeing my elder brothers and sisters-in-law all nodding in unison in front of me, my nose stung. What I lost was only someone who didn't love me, yet I have the strongest backing in this world. 3 days passed like this, and no one from the Zhou family came to the door again. Kuyun brought back news, saying Zhou Suiyan had been locked in the ancestral hall and beaten for a full 2 days. Yet he refused to admit fault no matter what, and on the 3rd day, he actually found an opening and ran out. I had thought he was going to elope with Zhang Ye, but to my surprise, by evening, he brazenly brought her back to the Zhou residence. Looking at her slightly rounded belly, Mother Zhou was ultimately moved, but she specially called for a doctor to feel her pulse, and only after it was confirmed that she really was pregnant did she reluctantly allow her through the door, though she gave her no status at all. And just like that, Zhang Yue moved in without any clear standing. And the matter I asked father to handle went very smoothly. Second brother even volunteered himself to deliver this peerless grand gift. Tomorrow morning, I instructed Kuyun, go to the Zhou residence and hand this divorce letter to Zhou Suiyan in person. While you are at it, inventory all of my dowry and bring it back. Yes, miss, Kuyun agreed, then asked. Then, what about Nanny Lee's side? Tell Auntie Lee. She doesn't need to go to the Zhou residence anymore to nurse her health, I said flatly. After all, that woman is no longer my mother-in-law. No longer needing to pretend to be virtuous and proper, I settled down and slept my heart out at my parents' home. It wasn't until noon the next day, when Kuyun came back in a grand procession with the team carrying my dowry, that I had just gotten up and started washing and dressing. Miss, you should have seen that scene, Kuyun said with an excited look, vividly starting to describe it. When this servant slapped the divorce paper right in front of the son-in-law, too, right in front of Zhou Suiyan, his face went green. I raised a brow. Oh, what did he say? Kuyun put her hands on her hips and mimicked his tone perfectly. Could Shen Qingtang really be this heartless? Is she truly this cruel? This servant told him, Lord Zhou, who is the heartless one, all the people in the capital know. This divorce paper, are you signing it or not? If you won't sign, then we'll see each other at the yamen, and it'll be just right to let the upright magistrate judge what kind of sense it makes to shield a criminal's daughter and drive off your lawful wife. His hands were shaking so bad then, he couldn't even hold the brush steady. There was also a whole ring of servants around watching, and he couldn't afford that humiliation, so he could only grit his teeth and sign his name. Kyun took a sip of water and went on excitedly. The best part is yet to come. After the servant finished inventorying the dowry, second young master immediately brought out an imperial decree he'd obtained from the palace. Once the decree was read aloud, everyone in the hall had all kinds of looks on their faces. And that Zhang Ye of all people never imagined that after entering the household for barely 2 days, she'd leap straight into becoming the legal wife, and personally appointed by His Majesty at that. The servants were all crammed under the corridor watching the excitement. In the end, second young master even cupped his hands in congratulations and loudly wished them a blissful marriage and to grow old together. If you'd seen Madame Zhou's expression, honestly, it was priceless. She almost fainted on the spot. Folks, this move of bestowing marriage by imperial decree is basically a home-run level masterstroke. Just think about it. The mother-in-law already looked down on Zhang Ye for her low birth and getting pregnant before marriage, and Zhou Suyan was even more just after the thrill of sneaking around. But now, the heroine's natal family directly used military merit to ask for an imperial decree, completely welding the mistress into the position of legal wife. This is basically telling the scumbag man, since you love her so much, then I'll make you bask in the vast grace of the emperor and be locked together for life. Now Zhou Suyan doesn't even have the right to divorce his wife anymore. This is what is called using magic to defeat magic. Let go of the urge to help and respect other people's fate. So damn satisfying. I let out a cold laugh. This was only just the beginning. Forget a co-wife. Now I've generously even given his Yewer the position of legal wife. And what is more, I'll teach them to grow old together, never to part. I really want to see just what kind of state this virtuous wife and good mother can manage to turn the Zhou household into. For the next 2 months, my eldest sister, in-law, and second sister, in-law took turns keeping me company and cheering me up. Every day, eldest sister, in-law came up with all sorts of ways to make me delicate little pastries and snacks. Luckily, second sister, in-law accompanied me in riding horses and practicing archery to burn off energy. Otherwise, I was afraid I'd be fed into a round, roly-poly dumpling. Besides that, Kyun would often dig up jokes and gossip about the Zhou family to amuse me. I heard that, to show how capable she was at being thrifty and managing the household, Zhang Ye actually wanted to dismiss more than half the servants in the entire residence. If father-in-law hadn't stopped her, she probably would have gone to sweep the courtyard herself and turned a perfectly respectable official's household into a peasant family. As for those rustic country dishes she made, Zhou Suyan found them fresh and novel at first, but after eating them non-stop for 2 or 3 months, even his stomach got sick and tired of them. Her embroidery skills really were quite good, so much so that Zhou Suyan often went to court wearing clothes with patches on them. Even my father couldn't help joking in court and asking whether the Zhou family was on the verge of bankruptcy and if they needed relief. As for her gentleness and thoughtfulness, it actually turned into a need to control every little thing and restrain him at every turn, making his colleagues joke that Zhou Suyan had brought home another strict mother as his wife. Madame Zhou's health, which had originally improved greatly after my earlier careful nursing, was angered into collapsing again by Zhang Yue's lack of manners. I originally thought that since she was personally chosen by His Majesty, with proper training she might be of some use. Who knew that taking her to a banquet would make us lose all face? From matching clothes and accessories to the food at the banquet, she knew absolutely nothing, made quite a few jokes of herself, and was turned into a laughingstock by the noble ladies of the capital. She had wanted to personally serve the medicine to win back some face, but being all thumbs, she scalded her mother-in-law instead, and actually made her illness worse. Now when her mother-in-law sees her, she can't even be bothered to lift her eyelids. Funny when you think about it. On the day I first heard that Zhou Suyan had betrayed me, I completely lost my head and grabbed a long whip ready to go beat that shameless pair to death. When Kyun saw my eyes red and blazing with killing intent, she was scared out of her wits. Not because she pitied that shameless man and woman, but because she was afraid that in my fury I'd end up with a murder charge and ruin myself. That girl made a snap decision and quietly ordered the coachman to turn the carriage around and head straight back to the Duke's estate. My chest was full of rage with nowhere to vent it, so I just went along with it and went home. Sister-in-law, second sister-in-law, the moment I saw my 2 sisters, in-law, I immediately threw myself into their arms, all the grievance in my heart turning into a downpour of tears. After I haltingly finished explaining what had happened, my eldest sister, in-law, gently stroked my back and softly comforted me. Tanger, don't cry. When your eldest brother returns to the residence, he'll definitely make Jo Suyeon give you an explanation. My second sister, in-law, had a fiery temper and immediately slapped the table and sprang to her feet. What is there left to explain? Just have your second brother go straight to his door and beat him up. Let the whole capital see the fine thing Jo Suyeon has done. Number? No. I hurriedly tugged on second sister, in-law's sleeve, my eyes brimming with tears. If my brothers find out, I am afraid someone will end up dead. After a good hard cry, I actually calmed down instead. Second sister, in-law's willow brows shot up. Then what are you planning? Don't tell me you are going to swallow this humiliation. I wiped my tears with my sleeve, my gaze turning cold. How could that be? It is just that I couldn't make up my mind, so I came to ask my sisters, in-law, to help me figure out what to do. The three of us sat in a circle and carefully discussed our plan. Eldest sister, in-law, taught me how to get a grip on and win over my mother, in-law's heart, so that even if the mistress entered the household, she would never catch my mother, in-law's eye. Second sister, in-law, meanwhile, taught me the method of praising that kept women to ruin, so they'd be tied together forever while growing resentful of each other. After I returned to the residence, seeing that my expression had eased, Kyu cautiously spoke up, Miss, over at the young master's side. Should we still keep someone watching him? Of course, and keep a closer watch on him. We absolutely can't let even the slightest clue slip by. I slapped the stone table with one palm, shaking the fallen leaves in the courtyard into a flutter. And so there came the whole series of arrangements that followed. Early the next morning, the Jongnan cook, second sister, in-law, had sent me arrived at the residence. Second sister, in-law, and my mother, in-law, were both from Jongnan. Back when she married my second brother, her parents had been reluctant in every possible way, and specially sent Aunt Jung along to look after her. Auntie Jung originally didn't want to leave her home behind, but her father waved his hand grandly and brought Auntie Jung's whole family along to the capital, and her second brother even promised to let her grandson study at the best private school in the capital, so he could earn an official title in the future too. And my mother, in-law, since marrying far away to the capital over 20 years ago, had gone home only a handful of times, let alone gotten to taste authentic hometown flavors. I specifically had Auntie Zhang make a few delicate pastries first, osmantha stingsheng cake and longjing tea crisps. When I stepped into the courtyard, my mother-in-law had just woken from a short nap, still drowsy. Seeing me, her brows and eyes relaxed, and with a smile she asked, "What brings Qingtang here?" Your daughter, in-law, happened to come by some Jongnan pastries, and wasn't sure whether they're authentic or not, so I specially brought them for mother to have a taste and judge, I said with a smile as I opened the food box, the sweet fragrance of the pastries mingling lightly with the scent of tea as it spread. Hearing that, my mother-in-law reached out and lightly tapped the corner of my forehead with her finger, scolding with a smile, "You sly girl, now you've even learned to tease me." She picked up a piece of longjing tea crisp and savored it carefully. At first it only seemed ordinary, but as that trace of fresh sweetness melted open on her tongue, her eyes suddenly lit up, and it seemed there was a glimmer of tears in them. "Yes, that is it. This is the taste." Her voice was choked with emotion. "How many years has it been since I've tasted such authentic hometown flavor? Even what the best pastry shops in the capital sell always falls just a bit short." As she spoke, she seemed to sink into a long ago memory, murmuring softly, "When I was still unmarried, my favorite was those crab roe lion's head meatballs, but the ones made in the capital always lacked a bit of that fresh, delicious taste, so later on I rarely had it." She didn't know that this dish happened to be Auntie Zhang's specialty. Early the next morning, I carried that bowl of crab roe lion's head meatballs, stewed just right and overflowing with fragrance, to my mother-in-law's breakfast table. She looked at the steaming soup bowl before her and froze slightly. She lowered her head and took a taste, staying silent for a long while, and when she looked up again her voice was full of emotion. "You child? Where did you find such skill?" As long as mother likes it, then Auntie Zhang's effort wasn't wasted. I replied with a faint smile. She set down the soup spoon, took my hand, and her gaze was full of affection. You've gone to such trouble to make me happy. Do you have something to ask of Mother, or did Anna upset you? Just say the word, and Mother will stand up for you. Nothing like that. I lowered my eyes to hide the feelings in them. Can't your daughter-in-law just be filial to you? Then Anna must be neglecting you. Please stop guessing. I cut her off, the smile at my lips fading slightly. He has been very busy with official business lately. Busy whispering sweet nothings with that girl he just met. In a little while, you are probably going to have one more vexing daughter-in-law. Some wishes naturally can't all be satisfied too easily. After all, if something is gotten too easily, you won't know to cherish it. During this period of time, I often went to my mother-in-law's courtyard, and noticed that whenever it was rainy and overcast her knees would ache, and her waist and abdomen would often have a dull pain too. I figure it is the wear and tear built up from managing the household for so many years. I had Kuyun go invite Auntie Lee, the most famous massage matron in the capital. Matron Lee had originally served nobles in the palace, and now that she was enjoying her retirement, she had been unwilling to come back out and toil again. Some time ago, her granddaughter was being pestered on the street by a few playboy louts, and I just happened to run into it. I've always hated these dog bastards who bully people by throwing their weight around, so every time I run into them, I beat them once. My whip is plenty familiar with those wastrel young masters. Whenever they see me, they basically keep far, far away. For one thing, getting hit really does hurt, and for another, if it gets brought before the elders, then my two overprotective brothers will definitely have to come knocking to reason things out. Again, it is just that I never expected that, after getting married, I'd instead get nagged by Josuan for drawing my blade to help. I originally thought he was worried about my safety, but thinking about it now, he was probably despise me for being vulgar, saying I made his civil official's dignity look bad. Under Auntie Leigh's careful treatment, my mother-in-law's legs and feet gradually grew more nimble, and her complexion became much rosier too. Seeing that I'd been handling things more and more steadily and thoroughly lately, my mother-in-law brought it up again and again, wanting to hand the household's managing power over to me, but each time I found some excuse and politely turned it down. After I refused yet again, Kewin looked completely puzzled, and taking advantage of there being no one around, lowered her voice and asked me, "Miss, when you first got married, it was you who didn't want it. But right now is exactly the perfect time for us to take over the household authority and secure your place as the lady of the house. Why do you keep refusing?" I toyed with the leaves of a potted orchid on the windowsill, my tone flat. I wasn't planning to stay in this lousy manor long anyway, so what would I want this exhausting household authority for? But you've become so steady and capable now, and the young master. Maybe he'll change his heart and come back to you. There was still a trace of the hope traditional women cling to in Kuyun's eyes. I drew back my hand and looked at her, my gaze cool and resolute. Silly girl. Once a man changes his heart, how could it happen only once? Today he likes someone gentle and sweet. Tomorrow he may fall for someone sharp and lively. I can't very well keep changing myself all the time just to suit those little drifting thoughts of his, can I? If I want to change, it is only because I want to become a better version of myself, not to win anyone's favor. Kyun seemed to understand, and not understand at the same time, and I said no more. One day she would see clearly how cold-hearted Jo Suyeon was, and she would understand what I said today. Later, I got hold of a batch of rare silks and ornaments shipped in by water from Jeongyeon and gave them to my mother-in-law. She stroked the smooth, cool satin surface, couldn't put it down, and her delight showed all over her face. After that, she praised me to everyone she met, saying outright that she must have saved up blessings over several lifetimes to get such a thoughtful and capable good daughter-in-law, precisely because I had laid almost perfect groundwork beforehand when Zhang Yue, who didn't understand the rules anywhere and only knew how to cry, entered the household. My mother-in-law's sense of disappointment hit its peak. Maybe the days at the Zhou residence were too stifling, but Zhou Suyan actually came loitering around the entrance of the Duke's residence every few days, though not once did he get to see me. Sometimes, if his luck was bad and he ran into my second brother coming home from work, then if he didn't run fast enough, another beating was definitely coming his way. But parents who dote on their children are all the same. I'd only been living comfortably at home for 3 or 4 months before my parents started nagging me. Mother thought my idling around all day was improper, and father was even more fanciful, mulling over finding a live-in husband for me. Just then, my second sister, in-law's younger sister, happened to be getting married in Jiangnan, so I went along with it and boarded the southbound ship together with her. For one thing, I wanted some peace and quiet, and for another, I really did want to see the vast world outside for myself. Jiangnan's misty rain, mountains, and waters really do live up to their reputation, so gentle that they make you unable to move your feet. Second sister-in-law had originally planned to head back after attending the wedding banquet and staying a few more days, but I ended up dragging her around sightseeing everywhere. As for the letters second brother sent urging her to return, they were probably mostly just scolding me, and I couldn't be bothered to open them. By the time I returned to the capital after having my fill of fun, it was already the end of the next year. The second day of the new year was supposed to be a day for visiting relatives and friends, but since I had been away from home for nearly 2 years, and we also had guests, the whole family planned to keep the doors shut and have a reunion by ourselves. Who would have thought that an uninvited guest would show up of all times? Originally, it would have been enough to have the steward drive him out, but he actually started shouting loudly outside the manor gate without a care. During the new year, no less, drawing all the neighbors to the entrance to watch the commotion, so the gatekeeper had no choice but to let him into the residence. Not having seen him for nearly 2 years, Jo Suian was practically like a different person. He was thin, haggard, with a gloom in his eyes that wouldn't go away, looking more than 10 years older. A tongue. The moment he saw me, he stepped forward, his gaze so sticky it was deeply unsettling. "You've finally come back after clearing your head. These past 2 years, I've been waiting for you every single day, thinking about you every moment." Oh my god! What species of ultimate scumbag line is this? Faye, this part seriously had Faye rolling her eyes. When has he been missing Qingtang? He obviously just can't go on living in the total mess he made himself. Can't stand how boring the mistress is, or his mother's reproaches, and only then remembered the comfortable, safe harbor that was his ex-wife. A lot of scumbags have the same problem. They don't cherish it once they've got it, but after losing it they start acting all deeply devoted again. In his subconscious, Qingtang spending the past 2 years going out to see famous mountains and great rivers was actually sulking at him? Good lord, with this earth-shattering self-moved delusion and blind confidence, he really ought to go look in the mirror more. Let's keep reading and see how Qingtang shuts him down next. It is absolutely satisfying. I took a step back, putting some distance between us, and said coldly, "Lord Zhou, please show some respect. We separated long ago, and have nothing to do with each other. I know you are just sulking at me. That is why you went traveling in a fit of anger," he said hurriedly, with a laughable air of self-righteousness. "Now that you are back, the position of lawful wife is still yours. As long as you want, you can drive her away at any time, and I'll do whatever you say." I almost laughed out loud. Jo Suian Zhang Yue is the lawful wife bestowed by the emperor's decree, and you dare divorce her? How many heads do you have to spare for the chopping block? He suddenly grabbed my arm, his eyes wild. "What is so hard about that? Just act like she doesn't exist. The real power of the household will all be yours. And my mother has also often talked about how good you were over these past 2 years. Jo Suian," I flung off his hand in disgust. "Why can you never learn to cherish the person right in front of you? When I was there, you liked Zhang Yue's gentleness. After she came, you started missing my good points again. Someone like you, always eyeing what is in the bowl while looking at what is in the pot, will only lose, again and again, everyone who ever treated you with sincere feelings." Seeing us arguing endlessly at the doorway, our voices getting louder and louder, my second brother, who had long since grown impatient listening from the main hall, strode out and without a word directly invited Jo Suian out the front gate like he was carrying off a chicken. This farce quickly spread all over the city. Not long after, Zhang Yue actually came to my door as well. I heard that after giving birth to a daughter, she never had any more children, and her situation in the Zhou family had become increasingly difficult. Her face was waxy yellow, completely lacking the delicate, innocent charm she once had. The moment she saw me, tears fell in grievance. "Miss Shen, tell me, What exactly did I do wrong? My husband and I were in love with each other to begin with. After marrying into the Joe household, I also kept to a wife's duty, diligently managing the household affairs. Why is it that everyone in the residence dislikes me? I looked at her, and there was hardly any stir in my heart, only a deep weariness. Did this husband and wife really take me for some bodhisattva who saves people from suffering? Some emotional dumping ground? I looked at her coldly. Back then, when you clearly knew he already had a lawful wife and still insisted on carrying on without a matchmaker and stealing someone else's husband, you should have realized that if you serve a man with nothing but your looks, sooner or later your day of being cast aside will come too. Seeing that she still wore that self-pitying woe, is me look and couldn't take in a single word of sense. I couldn't be bothered to say more to her and ordered someone to politely show her out. After all, a certain little vinegar jar had already been standing under the corridor for quite a while, just about ready to tip over. Later, Shukiching charmed my parents into beaming smiles and actually persuaded the two elders to hold our wedding in a lively bustle before the New Year festivities were over. He was the miracle doctor I met in Jiangnan when I saved the beauty by playing the hero. That day, someone just happened to be making trouble in front of his medical stall, so I kindly stepped up to help. Unexpectedly, I got a bit of a superficial wound from being careless, and in the end, it was he who gently and meticulously bandaged my injury. Since he practiced medicine while traveling all over, I followed him across the country as well, and at the same time got more and more skilled at the job of being his personal bodyguard. I heard that on our wedding day, there was a man outside the Duke's estate who got drunk and wanted to come make trouble. But before he could even get near the wedding procession, my husband Shu He-ching casually dealt with him using a few silver needles. He looked utterly miserable, like a drowned dog, and was hauled up and thrown back to the Zhou residence. I'd long since gotten used to a wild wandering life outside, and after getting married, I still had no patience for staying in the capital for long, so I continued traveling everywhere with him. He possessed the skill to heal the world, so wherever we went, we opened a clinic and practiced medicine. The common folk who came seeking treatment arrived in an endless stream, while I helped keep order and took care of the odds and ends at his side. Every now and then, if some fool without eyes came to make trouble, one crack of my long whip was enough to make them quietly shut their mouths. Letters often came from home. Aside from talking about everyday family matters, my second brother's letters would always gloatingly mention a few things about Zhou Suyan. Unable to get a divorce, and with his path to promotion stretched endlessly ahead because of turmoil at home, Zhou Suyan began to completely give himself up. He drowned his sorrows in drink all day, behaved recklessly outside, and whenever he saw a girl who looked like me, or had a personality like mine, he would spend money to take her into the residence as a concubine. Jiang Ye was powerless to rein him in, and spent every day washing her face with tears. I heard she had nearly cried herself blind, but those were someone else's stories of cause and effect. As for my own days, I was jolting along in a carriage, traveling all across the magnificent land, living freely and wildly, and that was already enough. Phew! Faye had just finished this cup of hot tea, and the knot in her heart also completely melted away, along with the heroine's carefree departure. Seriously, the biggest feeling from reading this story can be summed up in 4 words: clear-headed as hell. In our real lives, or in many traditional stories we've read, when the heroine runs into a scumbag man cheating, she often falls into 2 extremes, either crying, making scenes, and threatening suicide, using her own youth to wear down the other party's conscience, or, after the pain sinks in, pulling a complete makeover, dressing herself up to the nines, even going to learn the mistress's softness and weakness, all just to win the scumbag man's heart back. But what about our Shen Qing Tang? That bit, she said to the maid Kuyon, Faye really recommends every girl memorize in full. Once a man has a change of heart, how could it happen only once? If I want to change, it is only because I want to become a better version of myself, not to please anyone. Those words are so powerful. Why should you change the personality you were born with for someone who betrayed you? You are a fierce daughter of a military family. You are a bright and flamboyant red rose. What gives him the right to make you disguise yourself as a frail, boneless white jasmine just to suit his taste? A man who loves you will naturally know how to appreciate your bold, dashing spirit, If he doesn't know how to appreciate it, then hurry up and replace him. Thinking back to college, Faye had also seen a beautiful close girlfriend around her start crazily denying herself after her boyfriend cheated on her with a younger schoolmate who seemed, well, behaved and sensible. Wondering whether her personality was too strong, whether she wasn't considerate enough, and what happened. The more humble she became, the more that scumbag pushed his luck. It wasn't until later that she finally made up her mind to break up, throwing all her energy into preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam and building her career. Now she is already a shining executive at a foreign company, while that scumbag has long since faded into the crowd. Just like Jo Soo-yeon in the story, he thought he liked the gentle Jang Ye, but when he actually got her, he couldn't stand her dullness and petty small-mindedness. Only after losing Ching Tang did he realize how precious Ching Tang's grace and brightness were. A man like that has always loved nothing but the illusion of what he hasn't gotten and what he already lost. He doesn't understand love at all, and the best revenge Ching Tang gives them isn't charging back into the household to scheme and fight for favor, but generously locking them together for good, while she turns and walks toward a broader world of rivers and mountains. She meets the miracle doctor Shu He-ching, who truly understands her, and walks side by side with her. And from then on, with a whip in one hand and a medicine chest in the other, they uphold justice and live with exhilarating freedom. So, every darling in front of the screen, Faye wants to tell you this. If you meet the wrong person in love, please immediately, right now, put away your tears and your unwillingness to let go. Don't try to wake someone who is pretending to sleep, and definitely don't waste your youth on rotten people and rotten messes. Take your dowry, your confidence and your dignity all with you, and leave the feathers all over the floor for them to clean up themselves. Your journey should be the stars and the sea. Go study, go make money, go travel, go make new friends. When you've stood in a higher place and felt the wind, when you've seen how vast the world is, you'll realize that the scumbag who once made your pillow soaked with tears was nothing more than the most insignificant grain of sand in the scenery of your long life. Faye, alright, that is it for Faye's reading share today. Did this story bring you even a tiny bit of strength and inspiration? If it really hit the spot for you, don't forget to give Faye a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for the full triple combo. Your support is my biggest motivation to keep updating. See you at the next great article share. Don't miss it. Bye. Bye.